Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to continue my end of the year video things that I'm doing, and last time I posted about my 2020 reading goals. Today is going to be all about my 2020 writing goals. You heard me right, I am still talking about my writing. So if you are new here, the last couple weeks I have kind of taken a break from my writing videos. I did a whole whopping ton of them in the month of November because it was National Novel Writing Month. And then I kind of took a break because my writing slowed down and my personal life, especially with my job, got really crazy and I just haven't been writing as much. I am not a full-time writer, so this channel is kind of a hybrid of the books and the writing because that's what I like to talk about when I'm not doing therapy in my real life job. So as of today, I'm going to be talking about all the writing goals that I want to accomplish in the year 2020. So stay tuned. Hopefully this is also going to be a little bit of a ramble and I hope it makes sense, but I think this one's a little bit more planned than my reading goal video. Here we go. So the first goal that I'm going to throw out there is, if you haven't been here for a little while, then you know in November of this year, 2019, I attempted to write a young adult mental health contemporary novel. While I really got a good start on that novel, I got about 27,000 words, I pretty much ended up hopping that and stopping, and we didn't ever finish it. As far as 2020 goes, I would like to finish that first draft. I think it's really doable. I was just getting a little burnt out. As I've mentioned previously, I am a therapist for teenagers who have a lot of behavioral mental health issues. I typically work with them and their families and trying to keep their families together and to avoid having them have to go to the mental health hospital or, a residential facility or anything that's further. So this job can be extremely stressful, and because of that, when I was writing a mental health book where these two kids are in a mental health facility and they're getting help for their problems, it was sometimes being very parallel to what I was dealing with in real life. And by the end of the day, when I was done working, I just couldn't put myself back in that setting because I really needed to decompress and remove myself. So I would like to very steadily continue that novel in 2020 because I think I can do it piece by piece. Like, it's not something that I have to rush. I wanted to get it done for NaNoWriMo, but I also wasn't beat up that I didn't. And I think throughout the year, I could probably get a first draft done. Preferably, I would like to have the first draft done by April of 2020 because of another goal that I'll talk about shortly. But my first goal for 2020 is to finish that young adult mental health contemporary. And like I said, I'm probably a little less than halfway there. I probably should be about 60,000-ish words, maybe, give or take. And I'm at 27,000 right now. So we're almost there. The second goal that I want to complete in 2020 is relatively newer. Two of my writing friends, Maggie and Caitlin, who have been referenced in some of my past videos. Caitlin is co-writing another novel with me, but we all kind of love to have our writing nights together. We get together about once a week and do some writing. And we were talking about doing a fun kind of collaboration short story anthology of sorts where we all kind of take certain characters and we write short stories, but all the short stories are interconnected and lead up to like one big short story that kind of resolves like the problem with all of the small sections. Does that make sense? I don't know. Like, I can't really compare it to other anthologies because personally I don't think I've read anything like it. If you have, let me know because I'd love to be able to compare it to something else. But essentially, as you're learning about these different characters, there's 5 of them. They are misfit witches, so they all have kind of like specific witch powers, but they don't know how to wield them. And this ends up having a very kind of opportunistic or no opportunistic ways of, dealing with some of their problems and then having their powers mishap and whatever. So all of these like couple witches, like, you get the short stories and there's a lot of things going on in their own short stories, but it's kind of, there is an overall plot. And it just sounds like something very fun that I'm excited to do, and it is just for fun. It's kind of like, I would say, a writing exercise with maybe a good goal of getting somewhere with it. I don't know if it's something that would be able to be publishable in like a traditional publishing market, but I mean, I know there's Wattpad, there's Amazon to do independent publishing, and there's also indie presses that might be interested in it. I don't know. So we're not even there yet. We're just kind of having fun with it and writing, but I definitely would like to kind of see that co-project come fully to fruition by the end of the year next year. I think it's very doable, and there's 3 of us writing, and they're all relatively short stories, and short stories are pretty easy to pump out. I don't think we'll need like a ton of short stories to make it a complete novel. Really, we probably need 8 at the most. So we'll just kind of see where it goes. But I'm excited for that project, and that is the second writing goal that I want to complete in 2020. The third goal I have is one that has been mentioned several times since I've started my YouTube channel, and that would be to finish my co-written project with my lovely co-writer and best friend, Caitlin. So if you're new here, me and Caitlin have been writing an adult fantasy novel that is kind of Portal fantasy meets traveling, kind of, sort of high fantasy. I don't know. It's really weird to explain. I will link the video to where we talk about our co-writing process, and we talk a little bit more about what our book is. Either I'll leave a little card somewhere up there, or I'll also leave it in below, but you can kind of go to get more of what our process is like. But essentially, it's like a high fantasy where you have people from our world who end up kind of finding that there's these other worlds out there, and they have to try to figure out what's happening because they're all kind of intersecting and something is not right with the worlds, like the worlds are dying. So they're kind of end up mishmashing together to be unlikely comrades and heroes in the midst of all this chaos that is the world's dying. So that's a very brief version of putting it out there. But we have been working on this novel for about 10 years. We've gone through several edits, several beta reading, and we've gotten a lot of feedback. And at this point, we're just aging our characters up a little bit. Initially, we took out a lot because it was young adult, and now we just decided that it was better suited to be an adult novel, and we wanted to put a lot of that back in. So we just aged our characters up, and that's pretty much the big overhaul. We only have a small amount of edits to do, but some of those edits will take entire chapter rewrites. So by next year, we really want to be 100% done and queried. I think we said March 21st, like everything should be out in the email world to the query world, all to our agents. But we do have to, we have a few deadlines that we have for ourselves, and it's just by January, the end of January, all of our edits should be done. In February, in the beginning of February, like the first 2 weeks, we should just do our final read-throughs, and we might have like another kind of beta, alpha reader, gamma reader at this point. I don't know what you would call them. Maybe a gamma reader. What's after a beta? I don't know. Whatever that would be. Like maybe just one other final set of eyes on it. Could be a fresh take, could be someone we've used before, of just kind of making sure that everything is still consistent for us. And then we have to edit our query letter, because our last query letter, I think, is what got us into trouble when we queried. I don't think it really encapsulated what our book was about, and therefore I think people just kind of thought it was generic and skimmed through it and then didn't read our pages that we attached. So with that in mind, those are our first 3 goals. So in January, we're going to finish our edits. By February, we're going to read them over to make any final decisions and finish our query letter. And by March 21st, we should have all of our query letters out. We do have to take a little bit of time to research some new agents, because some of the agents we were looking at were only young adult fantasy, and now we are going into adult fantasy. So we're just going to see. So that's kind of, that goal in of itself has a lot of steps to it, but that is one of the biggest goals that I have for 2020, is just to finish edits, send out our queries, and sit back and go from there. Part of the reason that I want to get that co-authored project done and out the door is because in April there is Camp Nano. And Camp Nano is kind of like a voluntary thing that you can do, and you set your own goal and your own pace. So for April Camp, I actually want to take the time to go back and edit fully my NaNoWriMo 2018 novel. So in 2018, in the month of November, I ended up writing a young adult fantasy novel. Kind of young adult, new adult. It really didn't have any crazy themes in it to make it new adult, but the characters are turning 18 in it. So kind of you take it as you will. I would consider it young adult. But that fantasy novel kind of explores how you wrestle with fate, and if, you know, trying to escape your fate, you play into the fact that you are approaching it, or if, you know, fate is just sealed and no matter what you do, you can't escape it. So that novel explored that theme a little bit, and there were a few heavy edits I had to do with that one that I knew off the bat. Like, I took out an entire plot line that I forgot to add in it, and I would love to put that back in because that made it a lot stronger. So for Camp Nano, this coming April of 2020, I want to fully edit that from the first page to the end, go through my first round edits, because it has been over a year now since I've touched that novel. And I think that's much more doable than trying to do it this year when everything else was chaotic. So, like I said, the reason I'm going to finish my co-authored project and then jump right into Camp Nano in April and get the edits done on my fantasy novel. The next writing goal I have is for Camp July. For Camp July, I don't really have any solid plans. I think it's just going to be kind of where I'm at with everything. If we're still working on the witch project, which I might just refer to as Misfit Witches. I just think that's a cute title. So if I'm working on Misfit Witches with Maggie and Caitlin, that might be more of my dedication for Camp July. If we get anything back from our query process by that point, that might be our July goal. So I'm just kind of keeping up the air. I do want to do something for Camp July, but I don't have anything solid. So that's kind of like, it is a goal, but I just don't know what it is yet. The next goal that I have is also kind of just I'm playing around with the idea. So one of the things that I haven't mentioned too much on this channel, since I'm still relatively new to the YouTube world, is that I've always had a fascination and a love for writing poetry. I actually started my writing journey when I was in 5th grade, and I made a poetry club with my friends during the winter months because we would have indoor recess, and what other way to spend your time than by doing poetry indoors with your friends? But I really always had a lot of fun. I took a lot of inspiration from like Dr. Seuss and Shel Silverstein when I was in 5th grade, and I did a lot of mimicking poems where I would take their idea and do my own. But since then, I have done tons and tons of poetry. I entered a lot of contests. I got them printed in like those national compilations. And then I took classes in college for my undergraduate career, and I did a lot of, I think that it's really good poems. A lot about life and just like relationships in general, from your family to your romantic love and friendships. A lot of those poems were workshopped throughout the entire semester that I took those courses, and a lot of them were just ready to go and to be made into something. So one of the goals I've been playing around with is actually doing a poetry collection, and it would probably be self-published. I would probably go the Amazon route, get someone to make a cover for me, and do self-publishing on demand for people who, would be interested. I'm a little weary just because I don't really have my own huge following at this time. I don't have a huge following on YouTube. I don't really have a big following on Instagram either, though I have over 1,000 followers on Instagram. But I'm not really sure. Like, I don't want to have to self-publish something and then not have the tools to be able to market it. I think I could do fair enough, but I don't know how it's going to be. But that is something that I'm kind of maybe going to play around with throughout the entire year of 2020. And maybe by the end of the year, I will have something put together where 2021, it will be to get that actually out and published. I'm not sure. But let me know down below if you guys are interested in poetry, and if I was to put out a collection, would you buy it? I mean, let's just be upfront here. Is anyone interested in buying a poetry collection from me? Y'all don't know me that well yet, do you? But in all seriousness, I mean, if that is something that people, and especially my followers, are interested in, I would love to know if you would be interested, because that might give me a little bit more encouragement to actually go through with it. Because, I mean, writing in general is kind of scary when you put it out there. Writing poetry is even worse because I feel like people come at you. Also to note that my poetry isn't as, I know like a lot of modern poetry is very short and like supposed to be poignant, of like, yeah, you have a point and here it is, and it's very concise. I do write a little bit more traditional, where I have like structured and they're a little bit longer, and I don't know, that's how I like to write. I like to have like a story woven into my poem, so typically they're a little bit longer. But yeah, I don't know, I'm rambling about this topic now. So anyway, let's move on. So one of my last goals of the year is to do NaNoWriMo 2020. I have 2 novel ideas, but one that was taking a lot more precedence in my mind, and that has to do with dreams. And it's actually, when I was thinking about it, it probably could be classified as horror. I don't want to give too much away because I don't have my thoughts formulated as well yet, but essentially someone gets stuck in a dream and they have to try to find their way out of it, where there are these things kind of chasing them in the dream because they're not supposed to be there. So that's kind of where my little of inspiration is I'm kind of taking, my inspiration for this right now is a little bit like Nightmare on Elm Street, where you have, of course, Freddy Krueger coming into your dreams and chasing after you. More of just like you don't know if you're safe in your dream. A little bit of the David Bowie Labyrinth flair, where there's a scene in particular where it is Jennifer Connelly's, I can't think of her the name in the movie, but she is in this like one room, and like they're trying to whisper that like she's always been this way and she's always been here, and she's starting to believe them. Like that scene is very prominent for my idea of the book. As well as, and this is super random, but if anyone has watched the Legion TV show, it was on FX. It just finished up this past year. It was the final season. There was only 3 seasons. But in the 3rd season, there were these time eater things, and they creeped me out so much. But that is like my inspiration for like these like demon things in this dream, is like that weird, creepy time eater person things. So if anyone gets that reference, bonus points to you. Okay. So that has been an idea formulating in my mind for the past couple weeks. I actually got that during my NaNoWriMo of this year. It was it was a dream in part of what I woke up and I had this weird dream that like I was getting stuck in my dream. It was so surreal, but I'm like, that would be such a cool idea for a novel. And then I'm like, I'm going to make it a novel. So that would be probably, like I said, it would definitely be adult. I think it would kind of bridge that horror fantasy genre. So yeah, I'm very excited. But so far, that is the forerunner to what I'm going to be doing in Nano next year, is trying to work through that entire novel. And I'm very excited for it. So I might cave and I might start writing it beforehand. Who knows? I'm very excited. I don't want to put it off too long, because that's usually what happens, is I'll be like, I'm going to put it off till Nano. And then by the time Nano gets around, I'm like, oh, man, but I have 10 other ideas now. I should have started it before. So otherwise, I do think, I thought maybe I had another goal, but either I'm forgetting it or that was it. That's the last one I have, was my novel for NaNoWriMo 2020. But anyway, I think that's all of them. If I did forget something, I will leave it down below, and you guys can feel free to comment and let me know what you think of them. But I think that's it. I think we're pretty suffice. Those are a decent amount of goals. I think I should do much more, because I might get overwhelmed and then fail at all of this. But let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, do you guys have anything that you are anticipating doing in your own writing? Do you have your own writing goals? Are you going to be doing other projects? Just let me know down below. As always, guys, it's been a pleasure. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye.